Harold Landry is the most underrated Tennessee Titans player, but he's not the only one. I'll give you my list on today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans, today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. It's the final episode of Top 5 Week here on the Locked On Titans podcast. I'm going to give you my top 5 most underrated Tennessee Titans. I'm going to rank my top 5 at the skill positions for all-time Tennessee Titans history, and I'm going to answer some random top 5 questions at the end of the show as well. Before we get into all of it, I do want to thank you guys for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day, Monday through Friday. Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day here on the Locked On Titans podcast. Now, I do want to say this. I made an executive decision. I will not be releasing a podcast on tomorrow's show. I'm going to enjoy the July 4th holiday. It's the only episode that I've taken off all summer long, all year long. I figured I need the rest and relaxation. So hopefully you guys understand. I'll be back with you on Sunday night to break down the latest Tennessee Titans news as we get closer and closer to training camp. Probably going to start my positional preview series where we go through every single player on the roster, every position on the roster. So I hope you guys will tune back in with me there. But as for today, finishing up top 5 week here, got a question from Lando who says, who are the top 5 most underrated Tennessee Titans? And like I started out by saying at the beginning of the show, number 1 on the list is Harold Landry. And some of these players are underrated by the Tennessee Titans fan base, but some of these players I think are just underrated on a national level. And number 1 on that list is Harold Landry. I don't think that Harold Landry is underrated by Titans fans. I think Titans fans know how good Harold Landry is. But I think the national opinion on Harold Landry is not to where it should be for how good of a player he is. I gave Harold Landry a B+ when I did my player grades, okay? And I think a lot of people nationally consider Harold Landry like a B- player. They don't understand how good Harold Landry is, whether it be the Tennessee Titans tax, where players never get their credit, whether it be the injury year that he had. Harold Landry has been a very good player since he came to the Tennessee Titans. He's been a far better player than Rashaan Evans, who the Titans got in the first round of that draft, and Harold Landry was a second-round pick. You could just look at it like those are flopped, but still, speaking of flop, Rashaan Evans. But Harold Landry is a really, really good player, probably a third-tier edge rusher in the NFL, and I don't think he gets the credit that he deserves for being kind of a right on the level, right on the line of being like a Pro Bowl level player. I think he's just a tick below that. He could push over that this year, but he's underrated nationally. Now, some guys who are underrated by the Tennessee Titans fan base, you got to look at Jack Gibbens and Nick Westbrook-Akine. And I'm number 1 out in front saying I underrate NWI. I do. And here's the reality. And I explained this earlier this week, that the philosophy that led to having NWI be such a vital player is what I disagreed with. NWI as a 4th or 5th wide receiver in the NFL is perfectly fine depth. That makes sense. That's okay. And I think that because what happens, and this is more of an issue with Gibby, and I've talked about it before, but what happens here is Titans fans only watch the Titans. So they only watch the Titans game and think how good the players are based on what they're seeing. Most Titans fans aren't watching all 32 teams and being able to have a good frame of reference saying, hey, Jack Gibbens isn't any good, but I did watch these other few teams and their linebackers aren't as good as him, so maybe he's not as bad. I think Gibbens and NWI are both underrated by the Titans fan base, and I might be part of the problem, especially with NWI in that. You know, I'm guilty as well, but I think if you compare Jack Gibbens and NWI to other players in their situation around the NFL, it's not quite as crazy as it seems to us on a week-to-week basis. More of a national underrated situation is Amani Hooker. I don't think Amani Hooker gets the credit that he deserves for the player that he is and the plays that he can make. And then I wanted to throw in the fifth one, Mason Rudolph. Mason Rudolph is 8-4 in his career as a backup. I think he's one of the better backup quarterbacks in the entire NFL. And I saw a lot of Titans fans reacting to the signing like it was a big mistake or like they got a trash backup quarterback or something. I just don't fundamentally agree. So that's my list for underrated Titans. Did get another question from Ashton Kennedy, though. Top 5 could have been Tennessee Titans, who could have been Titans. And again, I didn't use the same logic for every pick here, but number 1 on the list has to be Randy Moss. Back in 1998, the Tennessee Titans took Kevin Dyson like 5 or 7 picks ahead of Randy Moss. Imagine Randy Moss instead of Kevin Dyson. Titans probably win the Super Bowl. All right, so that is number 1 by far. For me personally, though, Leonard Williams in 2015, I did not want Marcus Mariota. I know that Mariota has his place in Titans history, and maybe the Titans don't break the playoff drought and all of that without Marcus. But I don't know. Leonard Williams is still playing in the league right now. He's still a good player. Like, Leonard Williams is a far better player than Marcus Mariota ever became. So I wanted Leonard Williams there. Amon-Ra St. Brown, of course, instead of Des Fitzpatrick. They traded up to get Des Fitzpatrick. Just insane. Pat Mahomes, I didn't want to put this one in here, to be honest with you, because the Titans had just drafted Marcus Mariota. They just won their first playoff game. It would not have made sense for the Titans to take a quarterback there. So I'm not going to lambaste John Robinson. I will blame John Robinson for plenty of things, but that's not one of them. So, but fair enough to say Titans could have had Pat Mahomes if they would have taken that shot. Doesn't make sense for them to do it, but if any Titans fan said that, I couldn't blame them. And then finally, I got to put in A.J. Brown because he could have been still a Titan. Should have been still a Titan. What could have been A.J. Brown's career with the Titans, man, I'll never get over it. So those are my could have been for different reasons. Finally, Hunter Johnson asked, what are the top 5 NFL uniforms? Oilers throwbacks, the Chargers powder blues, the Eagles Kelly green throwbacks, the Bengals all white tiger, and then I love the 1980s New York Giants. They're just classic, sturdy. I feel like that about a lot of classic uniforms. I love the Pittsburgh Steelers uniforms. I love them. They're just so classic. And I also considered maybe throwing the Miami Dolphins in there as well. They have very solid, their teal jerseys are sweet. Really enjoy those. So there's a lot of good jerseys though. I am generally a jersey lover. I like San Francisco's jerseys are classic. I even like the old school Washington. Can't say the old name, of course, but the old school jerseys, they were just the burgundy, the gold, just clean, man. Just clean and classic. But yeah, I'll go Oilers, Chargers powder blue, Eagles Kelly green, Bengals all white, and then 1980 New York Giants. But with that being said, got more of your guys' top 5 questions to answer here. Who are the top 5 best quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers in Tennessee Titans history? I'm going to give you guys my answers. Before I do, though, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Gametime is the best place to buy tickets. And look, guys, it's summertime. That means it is time to check out some MLB games. And watching baseball in person is definitely the best way to do it. And the best way to buy those tickets is on Gametime. You get killer last-minute deals, all-in prices. You get a true view from your seat in the app, and you get the Gametime guarantee. Make sure that you take the guesswork out of buying tickets, especially MLB tickets this summer, with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Titans fans, let's continue today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. I'm answering your top 5 questions. Again, this is going to be the last episode of the week as I take a holiday. One day. for the 4th of July holiday. Going to go to a family friends party, watch fireworks, stuff like that. Hope you guys enjoy your day as well. America, baby. America. All right. But got a great question here. Really 3 great questions that all came separately, surprisingly, but they all fit so well together, talking about the all-time Tennessee Titans skill position players. I did the top 5 Tennessee Titans of all time on yesterday's show, but now let's kind of zoom in a little bit more. Before we do, thank you again for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first to listen each and every day, Monday through Friday. Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day. But the top 5 quarterbacks in Tennessee Titans history. The top 3 are easy. It's not hard. Steve McNair, Ryan Tannehill, Marcus Mariota. Now, I will say this to you. That is a sad top 3. Like, we have been deprived of elite quarterback play. Like, deprived. I mean, that is a sad top 3 quarterbacks of all time for our team. All right. You know, McNair, he's a solid addition. He would be in a top 3 in most teams, you know, but boy, that's tough. That's tough right there. But those are the top 3 by far. Really, it comes down to who you want to put in the last 2 spots. Now, for me, this was tough, and I'll tell you why. Because my instinct was to put Kerry Collins number 4 because he had the 13-3 year. That was, you know, one of the best years in Titans history. He was 12-3 that year as a starter himself personally. Like, you got to give him that credit. But I went back and looked. Vince Young had a better winning record than Kerry Collins. Vince Young was a more explosive player. Vince Young, I said it yesterday, Vince Young did not get a fair shake, man. Like, he won games. He had coaches that didn't want to play to his skill set, fighting against the grain the whole time, and he still won games with bad rosters. Like, Vince Young was a game changer. He really was. And the Titans mismanaged him. So, if you want to go back and look at the stats and the win record, Vince Young is better than Kerry Collins. Period. Like, but you got Kerry Collins with the good year, the best year. You know what I mean? But y'all know I'm a Vince Young stan. I'm putting Vince Young 4th, Kerry Collins 5th, and I'll throw in an extra one, 6th, Derrick Henry. Young Peyton Manning. You know what I mean? So Derrick Henry gets number 6 for me. Best running backs ever comes from Tighten Up Pool. Sean Brown asked the QBs. Tighten Up Pool asked the running backs. For me, the top 3 is obvious. Derrick Henry, number 1. Eddie George, number 2. CJ 2K, number 3. But after that, I think you probably have to go Chris Brown, who had over 2,500 yards as a Titan. And then I'm going to DeMarco Murray, who helped change the culture here and was a great running back for the Titans for, well, 1 year he was really good. The next year he kind of started to slow down, and it was time for the Titans to get rid of him. But I feel like DeMarco Murray deserves his credit. Other, like Travis Henry, Lendell White, deserve consideration as well. I think Tajay Spears could quickly get up into that list very quickly. But yeah, that I would say obviously the top 3, and then Chris Brown and DeMarco Murray would be my final 2 for the Titans. And again, this is just for the Tennessee Titans, not going into Oiler land or anything like that. Honestly, it's too far back for me to give you good answers there. Then, asked by Glory Holtz, the Latham caboose leader, or the Latham train leader, D-Money asked skill position players, but I feel like this kind of incorporates that enough. No need to do 5 tight ends. It would be, you know, Delaney Walker and Frank Wycheck, and then Algie Crumpler and Jonnu Smith, you know, like whatever. Best wide receivers. Okay, so I have said it numerous times that I think that A.J. Brown is the most talented wide receiver this team has ever had. Like, Derek Mason was never as good as A.J. Brown is right now. You know what I mean? Like, Derek Mason was never a consistent top 5 wide receiver in the NFL like A.J. Brown is right now, okay? So A.J. Brown is the most talented wide receiver, but in terms of pure accolades and how I ranked the other ones, like based on their production and winning and what they were a part of, Derek Mason is by far the best wide receiver in team history. I mean, he had like 3 seasons in a row of over 1,000 yards, return capabilities, played in that Super Bowl run team. Derek Mason is the only logical answer for number 1. But number 2 is A.J. Brown. I mean, he's not good enough to be number 1, but he certainly played well enough, even in just 3 years, that he should be considered number 2. Now, after that, it's Drew Bennett. Drew Bennett had some roll years, but he had that one explosive year where he had 1,200 yards. You got to give the nod to Drew Bennett. But after that, it's Nate Washington. And I got to tell you, those top 4, Derek Mason, A.J. Brown, Drew Bennett, and Nate Washington, I think that's by far and away the top 4. After that is where the conversations are had and where you start to kind of, nitpick things, and different people will have their different answers. I honestly looked at 3 different people. Corey Davis, Kevin Dyson, who, as I said yesterday, one of my favorite Tennessee Titans of all time, even though, not as good of a career as maybe some people remember. Like, my nostalgia brain made me think Kevin Dyson's career with the Titans was better than what it actually was. You know what I mean? But Kevin Dyson was part of the Super Bowl teams, Music City Miracle guy. Obviously he deserves his credit. Corey Davis, like I said, the Titans wide receiver history is more cursed than the quarterback history. So it's not like there's a ton of great wide receivers to choose from here. Corey Davis's production is high up on the list. But you know who the answer really is, if you're being honest? It's Kendall Wright. Kendall Wright had 3,200 yards, like 280 catches, 18 touchdowns. Kendall Wright had far more production than Corey Davis and Kevin Dyson. Far more. So the Kendall Wright time period was terrible, but we got to be honest here. Kendall Wright deserves his spot. He's number 5. And really what that means is the Tennessee Titans have had the worst wide receivers in NFL history. Kendall Wright is in the top 5. Shoot, man. Rough times. No doubt about it. That's what makes the A.J. Brown thing even more sad. And that's why people are so hyped for Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins. We have truly been deprived of great wide receivers. The most exciting, energetic position on the football field when you have an elite player. The Titans have never had one. Well, they had him for 3 years and traded him away. So, that's how it is. Let me know your guys' top 5s down below. Curious to see those. But now, going to finish out the week with some random ones that you guys threw my way. Definitely do appreciate it. Excited to talk about those. Titans fans, before we cap off today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast, I do want to thank you for making Locked On Titans your first listen each and every day, Monday through Friday. Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day. Also want to let you guys know that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV. It's called Locked On Sports Today. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day. You get local experts from Locked On. You get coverage of every league with our national shows. Forget Fox Sports 1 and ESPN. Turn on Locked On Sports Today, now available on the free Fire TV channels app and streaming 24/7 on YouTube. But I got some random questions from you guys that I was kind of excited to answer here before we go into the 4th of July holiday. First question that I got here was from Henry Johnson. Another one from Henry Johnson. He said, what are your top 5 music genres and then your favorites in each of those genres? Well, my number 1 favorite genre is hip-hop, rap, whatever you want to call it. It's been that way since I was like 13 years old. My favorite artist is Drake, but also love Eminem, Lil Wayne, Young Jeezy, Kanye West, Wiz Khalifa. Those are probably my favorites of all time. Rock music. I put rock together, and I know there's punk rock and alt rock and folk rock and indie rock and heavy metal and blah, blah, blah. There's so many different kinds. But, like, I like a little bit of all of those. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not a music guy. I'm not a guy who loves music. Like, I like listening to music. I have my favorite artists. I have my favorite songs. I like music. But I'm not somebody who, like, listens to music every day. There are days that I don't listen to any music. Doesn't bother me. I don't go like searching for new artists or like check out new playlists. I don't play any instruments. I suck at playing guitar, drums, anything like that. Piano. I can't do anything like that. I'm not musically inclined that way. With instruments, I could sing a little bit. I was in choir for like 13 years, but like I could never play any instruments. I tried. I had like guitar, drums. My dad got them for me when I was really young. I tried, just didn't care. So like, I'm not a music buff. I like music like a regular person. You know what I mean? Like I know my favorite artists, names of songs, names of albums, lists of tracks. Like I'm not, but I prefer other things to music. So I'm not, if I say a band is like punk rock, somebody will probably be like, they're not technically punk. They're posh / trans / alternative / whatever kind of rock and get mad at me. So I'm not going to do that. But I loved Linkin Park growing up. I love Blink-182. I loved like Yellow Card. I even had my moments where I liked like Slipknot and, some of the heavier stuff. People are laughing right now that I called Slipknot heavy because there are some bands that are like even heavier than that. Like I listened to like Devil Wears Prada and stuff like that at times in high school, but never really was for me. I'm into rap now. It's too late. Country. I've grown to like country as I've gotten into my 30s. I like Bailey Zimmerman. I know that's kind of a deep cut, but that's probably like my favorite artist right now. I love blues. I love like jazz, blues, stuff like that, like Kenny Wayne Shepherd, Buddy Guy, stuff like that. And then I like classical music. I'm really an old soul in that way. I like the Beethoven and Mozart and stuff like that. I like stuff like that. So anyways, that's my top 5 genres: hip hop, rock, country, blues, classical. And then Sweets MD said, what are your favorite movies? So top 5 favorite movies. Look, you guys are going to make fun of me here. Not a lot of like adult centric content. I'm not a big movie buff either. I like the movies I like, and I don't really like watch a lot of movies. I don't have like the attention span to watch a lot of movies, quite honestly. The Dark Knight is my favorite movie ever. I love Wizard of Oz. It's like a family movie that my whole family watched. A lot of memories there. I played the Lion in the Wizard of Oz in my high school musical my senior year, so that was fun. Always really loved that movie. Willy Wonka, the original one with Gene Wilder, greatness. Love that movie. Did not like the Johnny Depp one at all, but I did like the Timothy Chalamet. Is that how you say it? The guy from Dune. I did like his like recent version. That was fun. It was better than I thought it was going to be. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone is like an all-time. If I don't feel good or it's like a rainy day or something like that, I'll throw that on. That's like soul food movie style. And then I love Gladiator. I love that movie. They're making a Gladiator 2. I'm not as excited about that because like some things don't need a sequel, but there are some good actors in it. It could be good. I love the first Gladiator. And then I got to throw it in. Moana, man. I didn't see Moana until late because I don't have kids. So it's not like I'm checking out all the kid Disney movies when they come out. But I watched it like a couple years ago, and man, it's like my favorite Disney movie ever now with like Lion King and Aladdin. So anyways, then Global Titans Pod or Titans Global Pod said top 5 favorite ice cream flavors. Vanilla, number 1. I love vanilla. All right. Vanilla is underrated, man. It's underrated. It's a great, people have made vanilla into plain Jane. Like no, vanilla is delicious. All right. It's nonsense. All right. Vanilla is great. Birthday cake ice cream. I love vanilla. The little pieces of birthday cake. I love good, just regular, like, birthday cake, with like icing. So good. Cookies and cream, gotta be in there. I'll do vanilla with a little bit of cookie added in. You know what I mean? Like peanut butter ice cream. If you got like chunks of Reese's cups in there. I'm down with that, but just like peanut butter flavored ice cream, fantastic. And then salted caramel. If you get a little bit of pretzel in the salted caramel, now we are cooking with gas. Okay, delicious. So those are my top 5 ice cream flavors. All right, guys, like I said, I'm going to take tomorrow off for 4th of July. I haven't had a day off of the podcast in a long, long time. So I hope you guys understand that. If not, I get it. Be mad at me. I'll be back with you on Sunday and we'll all get over it. But that's going to do it for me today, folks. As always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans.